When it comes to true crime, there's definitely a channel for everybody. So some people prefer pre-recorded videos like what I do here, while others enjoy that sense of community that you get from sitting there and being involved in a live stream. They enjoy all the additional chatter and don't mind waiting for the information that is promised with that live stream. So I'm certainly not saying that there is anything wrong with doing a super long live stream where you spend a large portion of that live stream chatting. I know for me, back when there were several channels doing the Kylie Rodney case, I used to love hanging out on the Squirrels on Fire channel when she was doing a live stream, because there was that sense of community and you did know pretty much everybody in the chat, and it was a happy place to be. But for me, if I'm not wanting to hang out with a bunch of friends and chat in a friend's live stream like I was doing with Squirrels on Fire, then I simply do not have the time to sit through a lengthy live stream just to get 20 minutes worth of information. For me, when it comes to cases that I'm covering and I want information, I just want the facts laid out. I just want the meat and potatoes. I don't want to have to wait for it. Now, with shorter live streams, you can read through the transcript, and hopefully, from just reading through the transcript, you can save yourself a lot of time and find what you're looking for. Not always, though, because the transcript doesn't say this person is talking now, this person is talking now. It doesn't really give punctuation. It doesn't always indicate who you are listening to, which means that you can miss bits of information from that transcript. If it's a longer live, there's no transcript. So if someone has done a 5-hour live and I want information from that 5-hour live, or I want audio from that 5-hour live, I'm going to have to sit there and listen to the entire live stream to find what I'm looking for. And I've had people comment in my videos with regards to longer live streams that they just haven't been able to manage to listen to it, even though what's in it interests them because of the length, because of the additional chatter. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with doing a 5-hour live stream or sitting and listening to a 5-hour live stream. I'm basically just saying each to their own. There are people who don't like to listen to my videos because Amira snores in the background and they find that distracting. So for them, this is not the place. But that doesn't mean that my channel is a bad channel. That just means that there are some people for whom my channel just isn't really suitable. So when someone who is connected to a case goes on panel on a really, really long live stream, a lot of people miss out on hearing what that person has got to say, because for those people, sitting through a 5-hour live stream is just not on the agenda. So Belynda Gray has been on panel on the channel It's a Crime and Shame on a number of occasions now. But because they've been lengthy live streams, I haven't really had the time to sit and listen. And I know a lot of you guys haven't either. And of course, getting the information when there's so much extra chatter in between, for a lot of people that's just a little bit too much to go through. So what I've done, I have sat down and gone through hours and hours and hours of audio and edited all Belynda's comments. So this is from multiple live streams. This has taken me well over a week of basically working on it, probably about 5 hours a day. For the most part, you're only going to get Belynda talking. The only times when I've left other people in is where I've done so to provide context. So someone asks a question and the answer doesn't necessarily tell you what the question was, then I've left that audio in so you can kind of keep up with what's going on. As you would have seen in the thumbnail, this is only part 1 because, like I said, Belinda actually has been in a few or a number of live streams with It's a Crime and Shame. So this is from the 5-hour live stream, and I think the rest of the audio from that live stream is on part 2. So I probably should have mentioned the other reason why I've done this is because when someone does a lengthy live stream, there's no transcript. Makes it really, really hard for you to find what you're looking for if you're looking for a specific audio clip. So this way, when I want to use audio clips from Belinda Gray, I now have them all together in a neat little package where I can just go straight through the transcript, find what I'm looking for, presto, rather than having to go through a 5-hour live stream every time I need some audio. So, on that note, here is part 1 of Belinda Gray on YouTube.
Thank you for having me. I'm Belinda. I am Lily and Jack's grandmother. Cody Sullivan is my son. There's been a lot of rumors, speculation, and talk concerning my son, and I really do want to clear that up because it has nothing to do with Jack and Lily finding them or what happened to them. My son has been living here for 11 months now. I keep getting stuck on 9, but it's been 11 months now. And he does not have a criminal record whatsoever. He has never been out west. And he has had nothing to do with the children for 3 years. Him and Malaya were together for 3.5 years. Their relationship went downhill really fast after Jack was born. Malaya told me that she was not happy. She definitely wanted out of the relationship. And we supported her 100%. My son, I don't know if it was the pressures of trying to support a family. I'm not sure what happened, but he started drinking a lot, started doing the drugs, and in the end, he just didn't care. And she got tired of it and left. She went to court for full custody, and she went to court for child support payments, and he was paying child support right up until 11 months ago now, when he lost his job, lost his apartment, and lost his vehicle, and that's why he's home. Now that we have that out of the way, does it suck? Yes, it does. I make no excuses for him, but he is my son, and I love him with all my heart. And that's what I want to say about him. Now I want to know why everybody seems to be talking about everybody else, and I find Lily and Jack are getting lost in the background. Yeah, there's where I stand.
And go ahead and say your piece on that, if you don't mind, Belinda, on about that, because you're right. They get lost in the noise, and it's about Jack and Lily, but they get.
This has been a real eye-opener for the true crime world. I had no knowledge that this part even existed. When I found out that they were missing, I thought they were lost in the woods. I thought they were lost in the woods right up until we went there Saturday morning. And seeing where Malaya lived, seeing Malaya herself. And I still thought, well, the children must be up in the woods. There was a lot of woods. You could see the kids' toys all over the yard. You knew they well played there. Malaya was pretty, I'm not sure if it's shock, but she was very flat, non-emotional flat. I put it down to shock, that she just didn't know what to do, and she kept saying she didn't know what to do. I asked if those were the doors that the children went out, and she said yes, and she opened and closed them to show me how quiet they were, which I did find a little strange. I asked her around what time she seen them, and she said she never seen them since Thursday night when she put them to bed. I asked her what time she thought they got up, and she said between 8 and 8:30. But she said she didn't see them. She heard them out in the other room playing. She never said what room. She just said she heard them out in the room playing, and she drifted off to sleep. And when she woke up again, she didn't hear nothing, and she realized that the place was just too quiet. So they got up and they searched. She said they searched the house, they searched the yard, and then I think she said Daniel went off in the truck to search. So I asked her, I said, we're here to search. So you know your kids, you're the mom. Moms know their kids. You know what takes their interest, where they like to go around the yard, where you have to get after them all the time. And she said they always like to play up by their fort. So I told her we would start up there. So we headed out, and that's where we started. I never met Daniel that day. She told me that he was out searching. He's been searching since they've been gone. I did see her mom in the Daniel's mom, sorry. I seen Janie in the driveway. He had another woman with her. I wasn't sure who it was at the time. And I did see Justin outside at the time.
Anybody around her that Saturday morning when you showed up?
She was totally, a good way to put it was she looked totally lost. She had Meadow on her hip. She was holding Meadow, and she looked totally lost. Her grandmother was sitting in the living room. As for the people around her, I know when we come into the driveway, Janie was sitting on some kind of a bench thing or something in the driveway, and I can't remember who the woman was beside her. There was a policewoman standing there, and the policewoman was talking to them. We couldn't make out what she was saying until we got up closer. And Janie was really crying a lot. And this woman was saying to her, "It's okay, Mom. They're not blaming you. They just want to look in your trailer. They're not blaming you. They just need to make sure that there's nothing in the trailer." And she went on to say that there was nothing in the trailer. She didn't want them around her dog. And the policewoman told her that she was impeding an investigation and she would have to get a search warrant. And then I thought, well, we'll just continue on into the trailer. That was the only thing I found just a little strange, that I was wondering what that was all about. When I got inside the trailer and after I had hugged Malaya, I mean, I took to crying. Now, I didn't notice because I wasn't watching, but my sister stated that she noticed Malaya wasn't crying at all. She didn't have any tears, that she was very non-emotional. That after the hugging, and I stated about the woman outside that was upset, and she told me that that was Daniel's mother, and that she was having a hard time, and she said that was Daniel's brother. And I told her I seen the resemblance, so I figured they were related. She did tell me who the other person was, but I can't remember. And
It wasn't Logan, was it?
I met Logan, I think we were there Saturday. I don't remember Logan Saturday. I seen her in passing, but not to talk to her. I talked to Logan on Monday.
Were you there for the argument? I'm sorry, Sunny, I'm totally taking over. This is my last question.
I was not there for the argument. When we were there Saturday, when we were getting ready to leave, we were in the woods searching. We come back out. I went back in to let her know that we were finished basically for the day. That was in kind of late afternoon. And we come back out when we were sitting in the car because, I mean, it was pretty miserable in the woods. So we were kind of breaking in the car. I seen Cindy drive up. She had some woman with her, and her husband was also there. They went into the house. Then this vehicle pulled up and this gentleman got out and he introduced himself as the chief, but I'm not sure of what reserve he was talking about. I can't remember that. But he did say he was the chief and he was looking for Malaya. So I took him to Malaya's, and he went in. So my sister and I decided, well, we'll do searching just up the other road further. So we did. When we come back, I stopped in again, and the chief and Malaya, and there was one or two other people around the table, and I thought I heard him say about a prayer circle, and they were on like a conference thing on his phone, and I could hear words in the background and that. So I kind of made my leave at that point and I left. And then me and my sister headed out. So the only thing I can assume is we had just missed the big fight or whatever it was. We must have just missed it. I think that was Monday. My sister drove me up there. We didn't go there to search that time. I see no point in searching any further once Malaya had left. I wanted to go and I wanted to speak to Daniel. So my sister took me there. She dropped me off. I walked towards the trailer. Janie come out of the trailer and asked who I was. And as I was stating who I was, Daniel come out and said that that's Belinda, Cody's mom. So he come out and I said, I hope you talk to me. And he said, I will. He said, I don't want to talk here. Let's go out in the driveway further. So that's what we did. We walked out to the middle of the driveway. And I told him that I had tried contacting Malaya and she did block me. And he said, yeah. He said, weird, isn't it? Then he proceeded to tell me that the whole thing is strange. And he thinks Cindy and Malaya's half-sister had something to do with it, because he said the whole thing just doesn't make sense to him. And then he proceeded to tell me of how he searched. Now, I have to say that part struck me weird, because as he was telling me how he searched Friday, he was telling me word for word what I heard on the TV interviews. And I mean, it was basically word for word. And that struck me as off. That just struck me as totally off. Right down to the culverts, the dirt roads, waist deep in the water, word for word. And I thought that was really, really odd. And it wasn't until after I left that I noticed there was no dog barking. But I had asked Daniel when I was there anyway. That was not the thought. When I was there, I asked Daniel what kind of a dog his mom had. Because I said, if somebody come into the property and took the kids, I said, wouldn't your mom's dog bark? Because it barked all day Saturday. It would stop barking. And he said, well, that's the thing. He said, Mom's dog didn't bark and it didn't wake her up. I said, well, then I can't see somebody being able to take the kids, because I said the dog should bark. He said, exactly. The only way the kids could be taken off the property is if they were harmed and carried off, or if they were walked out. The dogs only found evidence of the kids in the yard out to the end of the driveway, nowhere else.
Janie, the night before the kids went missing, filled the pothole with some of the gravel from the bank that is along the side, like on her, where her RV is.
Right.
Did you see that spot filled in on the Saturday when you were there?
I didn't take notice of it, no.
Okay.
Yeah, I did not take notice of it. When I heard his story about that and the boot print, I didn't even take notice of the boot print in the yard. I wasn't looking for boot. It didn't even dawn on me to look for boot prints in the yard. I mean, the kids played there, lived there. What struck me is they're all stating she left through the back door for the boot print to be where it's at. Why wouldn't she have gone out the front door? She bypassed Janie's place, and it would be right out to the road then.
Is it noisier door?
I don't know because it was open the whole time that I was going there. The door
I'm
was
just asking, like.
Yeah, so I don't know.
Now, and out of total respect for you, Belinda, I'm done already. I'll stay on the line, but I will not interrupt.
Okay, good, because I do have a question. Janie is a very strong woman. I've seen that a couple of times that I was there, that she is a very strong-willed woman. Why would she have not come forward sooner? If she believed in her heart Malaya did this, why would she have not put it out sooner? Because I know I would have. I'm just stating that I wish she would have come forward at least a couple of days after. I mean, when she was sure in her mind that she really believed Malaya took these kids. Because, I mean, the first week to 2 weeks, it was all about searching. And when I was there, I mean, other than the reporters that I seen Daniel talking to, I mean, I was only there for so many hours each day. But I didn't see anybody hounding. I mean, Daniel talked to reporters right off the bat. Why wouldn't they have said something then?
I don't have all the answers. I don't have all the answers, Belinda, but that's what Janie directly told me and showed me, to the point of they even were offering, I don't know whether Earl is her ex-husband or still husband, they even offered Earl liquor to talk, and that really... Now,
Daniel did tell me that too.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Belinda. See, that's a confirmation of a little point, and thank you so much.
Daniel did tell me that one too, that they offered his parents liquor and that.
Thank you very much.
Now, the other thing there is about that blanket. Monday, Daniel was telling me about that blanket. He said her family found a piece of a blanket up in a tree. He said now they never went searching at all. He found it very strange that they found a piece of blanket. Now, I thought he told me the blanket was blue, but I won't swear my life to it because, I mean, my memory's just not the greatest anymore. But he did tell me that it was a blanket that was chucked in the garbage, and he doesn't know if a bear or something tore the garbage bin open, but he said the garbage bin was tore open, and the garbage bag was broke open, and he stated that he showed it to the police.
Probably goddamn crows.
And he also told me that Malaya called the school at 6:18. He said he didn't even know the kids were going to be kept home that day. But she called the school at 6:18, and he had that proof on his phone. And I asked him if he gave that to the police. And he said yes.
And I was talking to Janie today, and Janie has everything on her phone, right down to the point. And Janie wasn't actually sleeping that heavy or anything the first morning, because her Ron, her brother, had called her at 6:10 a.m. in the morning, and she heard the phone ringing and got up and never caught it. But then she called him right back at something like 6:15. And that's on her phone. So Janie was already up and stirring around a little bit when she heard Malaya come out the back door.
That was around 6:15. Right.
exactly right.
Well, maybe that's why Malaya was out by the driveway, because she called the school at 6:18 exactly.
Malaya called the school twice, once at 6:17 and never got through, and once at 6:19. But this is what I talk about, little particulars that mean nothing to me.
Now, okay, but Daniel told me that Thursday she called the school at 6:17.
Yeah, one was Thursday, one was Friday.
Right. Friday she called the school at 6:18.
Okay. Like I
And
said,
I know the reception around the property, I couldn't use my phone, but if I stood out in a certain part out by her driveway, it would pick up reception. Well, I do remember when I was there, I don't know who put their arm around her and told her, "Mom, they're not blaming you. They just want to search the trailer." And I do remember her saying she didn't want her dog to get hurt. Yeah, because I tried calling Patty, and the moment somebody answered the phone, I said, "Hi, it's Belinda." Right away, they hung up.
Really?
Yeah, that was right after.
Sorry,
It was
Belinda,
right
go ahead.
after Malaya took her Facebook and all that down. I couldn't reach her, so I figured, well, I'll reach out to Patty, because I know Patty. I mean, she thinks the world of Malaya, so it is a good story. I think about it and I can make it make sense. I can see how it can look like it makes sense. Going by the CPS, going by Malaya's marks of she's protecting Meadow from CPS. I never got a chance to ask her, was she protecting Meadow from CPS because Daniel was due to have visitation? Or was she protecting CPS because she was afraid she was going to lose Meadow? That part doesn't make sense. They gave her custody of Meadow. So I can only go with the fact that she was upset that Daniel was going to get visitation. As for Darren's story, I did like the idea. I mean, of course, finding the kids, yeah, great. And I was starting to buy it. And then I started thinking of all the original talks, of all the times Daniel had spoken, of what Malaya had said to me. And it just didn't make sense to me in the end. So I don't see it. I do not know Janie personally. The first time I seen her was Saturday. I was never officially introduced to her. From what I've seen of her, she's a very capable woman that she speaks her mind. She had no problem telling the policewoman that they weren't going in her trailer right at that time. And after the policewoman left, she told Malaya, she said, "When they come back and they go in, you make sure you hold on my dog. You hold my dog." And Malaya told her not to worry. It did concern me that day. I did wonder, my sister and I talked about it, like, what's the big deal? Get somebody to take the dog, because he had a couple of little sheds there that were empty besides the chicken coop. So the dog could have stood in there with somebody.
Yeah.
So I was a little concerned about that. That I do know the dog barked the whole time we were there. The dog just barked continuously. So I could tell the dog was a big dog. I couldn't quite see its face, but my sister and my daughter were close enough to the trailer and they stated that it was a big dog. I'm an animal lover, so I know I would be worried about my dog too if I was her. Myself, like you, I wanted to sleep in my car and stay there until they were found. What I took from Malaya's statement right away, I thought, well, that's just weird, because she's not saying anything. Her lawyer's not saying anything. And then I rethought what she said. And yes, Daniel is the one out there. He's the one that's posting everywhere. But when I start to look at all his posts and what he's saying, I don't find he mentions the children very much. It's always just what he is doing, not asking anybody if they have the kids, not asking anybody to return the kids. That's only mentioned a couple of times, I found, and I thought it was kind of prompted by the reporters interviewing him. I find a lot are not mentioning Jack and Lily specifically. Listening to Darren's story, and apparently this is what Daniel feels too, but yet he searched for days in the woods and went on TV to state that if he has to, he'll search for the rest of his life. And that strikes me odd if in the back of his mind he really believes because his mom heard the kids and she almost caught her handing the kids off, that if they really believe that to be true and they gave their statements, but the police didn't want to listen, I'd be telling the reporters, I'd be telling the whole world. Yes, I've had no contact. The last contact I had with Malaya was the morning that she took off with Meadow. And you have those texts there. And I've sent her 3 since then, and she hasn't even looked at them. Daniel, I sent him one more after my last text with him. He did look at it. He did see my text, but he has not replied. I don't know what happened in the past almost 2 years because I've had basically no contact other than what I've seen posted that she would post out. As for before Daniel, she was a doting mother. Do I think she might have spoiled her kids a little? Yes, I do. But she was a great mom. I couldn't have been happier to have her as a mom for my grandkids. When she left my son and she said how unhappy she was, she didn't want her kids growing up in that unhappiness. She had no problem leaving my son. If she felt that way, why would it have been a problem for her leaving Daniel? I don't understand that. I cannot see her going through all these lengths to get her kids out of there when she could have left. I know her mom would have picked her up. She had her own vehicle. She could have left any time. I just can't see that. It doesn't make sense to me. That I just can't see why, not these great lengths. And not to let it go on past that. I can't wrap my head around that. To be honest, the day Malaya left is when it hit me that I did not feel these kids were ever going to come back. It broke my heart when her and Cody didn't work. They were my picture-perfect family. It broke my heart. And Malaya made me feel it was okay. She'd come every couple of weeks with the kids. And then it slowly dwindled after she met Daniel. So yes, she was changing. I can't deny that. There was some changes. So now I'm back again on not knowing who's responsible other than I know somebody was. I understand postpartum depression. I went through it when I had my daughter. And it lasted a little over 1.5 years. And then I lost my husband. And it was losing my husband that snapped me out of the postpartum depression. Do I think Malaya could have? It would definitely explain a lot about her behavior on what Daniel was telling me. I still just can't see that she would hurt her kids. It's a real strong sense of worthlessness that you have this baby and you have in the back of your mind that you're going to have this real close bond. And your baby cries and you try everything and your baby still cries. So then you start to feel that there's something wrong with you. You're not a good mom. Then you start to pull yourself away and you don't feel that closeness. I used to hear moms tell me, oh, you'll know your babies cry when it's hungry and when it's this and when it's that. And I did not feel that. And I couldn't make myself feel that. And then seeing Daniel's posts about how she never looked after the other kids. He did everything. So I'm assuming he let her know how worthless she was as a mom to the kids. And maybe that was the cause of her wanting to leave the relationship, because she just wasn't feeling worthwhile with him. And that's what leads me to believe that Lily and Jack, I think, were the biggest contention between the two of them and what's caused most of their fighting.
Because you were there 3 times, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
I arrived there. There was no police cars on the road. The one dirt road just before you get to their place, I can't remember the name of the road. It's a dirt road. That's where all the police were stationed and the search and rescue. That road was blocked off. Right away when we pulled up, I had recognized the trailer because we had made many trips to New Glasgow. And I've often seen the trailer. I didn't have a clue that's where Malaya lived. And I feel so bad now because we could have stopped in so many times. But my sister and I get out and we start walking to the trailer, and that's where I seen Janie sitting down. And I wish I could remember, but I can't, who the woman was sitting beside her, and there was a policewoman standing up. She called Janie Mum. She called Janie Mum because she said, Mum, it's okay. They're not blaming you. They're not stating that you did anything wrong. It's okay. They just want to look in the trailer so they can rule it out. They just need to check the trailer. And she was going on saying no, she didn't want them to look at something. I can't remember what it was. It was a cupboard or something. And she said about her dog, that she didn't want her dog getting hurt. And the policewoman was telling her that she was impeding an investigation and that she would have to get a search warrant because they have to search the trailer. And the policewoman left. And then my sister and I headed towards the trailer. We got in the trailer. Right away, I went over and hugged Malaya. Of course, I started to break down. I guess once you reach 60, everything makes you cry now. But I hugged her, and right away, she thanked me for coming. And I noticed that her grandmother, Patty, was there. She was sitting on the couch. And I asked Malaya if she'd heard anything yet. Did they find anything yet? And she said no. I said, who are the ones outside? And she told me that was Janie, Daniel's mom, and that was Justin, Daniel's brother. But I know she said who the other one was. And like I said, for some reason, it's just gone. So I asked her, I said, what was the last time you seen the kids? Did you see them at all? And she said, no, the last time she saw them was when she put them to bed Thursday night. I said, what time did they get up? She said between 8 and 8:30. She said, I heard them playing in the other room. She goes, and I kind of drifted off to sleep. She goes, but they must have got out of the door. And I said, that's the door right there. And she said, yes. And she opened and closed the door. It is a fairly quiet door. It's not a loud door, but I mean, it's a patio door. So unless you're kind of listening, you really don't hear patio doors open and close. I'm sorry. I know a lot of people are going on about it, but you don't overly, unless your ears are tuned for it to know the door is opened up. As a parent, they should have been tuned in.
Mhm.
So then I asked her what the kids were wearing, and she told me what they were wearing. And then I said, we're going to go search. I said, where do you think the kids went? And she said, I don't know. She said, I don't know what to do. I said, well, you're their mom. You know them more than anybody. When you have them outside playing, where do you think they would go, that they were curious and wanted to explore? That she said they spent a lot of time playing up into the woods. So I told her, I said, that's where we'll start our search. We'll start it there and work our way up. So we went back out and we spoke to one of the searchers because we just wanted to know where we were allowed to go. They told us that we could search on their side of the property, but we couldn't search across the road because that's where all the searchers were. She said we would rather not have anybody searching. And I understood that, but she said, you can search the places that we've already gone through. So I told her, okay, we would do that. So we went up through the woods. You could see where the kids played. You could tell that the kids really enjoyed the yard. Their toys were everywhere. The dog barked. From the time we entered the property, it just became background noise. It never stopped barking. We went up through the woods. We made it to a field in the back, and we combed the woods beyond that. And then we seen all these wood roads going, these old pathways going. So we were up there for about an hour and we headed back down. And I went back into the trailer, and Malaya had Meadow cradled on her hip, and there was a couple of groups of people, but I wasn't paying any attention to the people at that point. So I don't know who they were. And she was going to different groups, talking with people. So I went up and I told her, I said, look, I said, we searched up here. I said, now there's a field back there. I said, do you ever take the kids back there? Do they know that area? And she said, yes, that she's had them back there. I said, okay. I said, so we're going to go up the road and we're going to cut across the property and come back in to where that field is. So we left again, and that's what we did. We went up past their place, and there's another road that goes in past where the train tracks are. We went up and through there, and we cut across. We come across a couple of brooks, but right away it was hitting me that there's just no way these kids would be in these woods. It was just like a jungle. That we looked through deer paths, and a lot of those were blocked off. Rabbit trails, a lot of animals will use the same trails. We followed what trails we could, and they always came to dead ends. We walked the woods road for, oh my gosh, for about an hour and a half. We walked the woods roads, and all the time I'm calling out for them. And nothing, just nothing other than ribbons. There were ribbons everywhere throughout the woods. That's all you seen was ribbons. So we come back out, and we took a break in my sister's car. And I said, I'm going to go in and tell Malaya that we're done. So I went back in and I spoke with Malaya, spoke with Patty. Patty was telling me about selling her home. And that she was worried sick, and you could see she was worried sick. She was pretty upset. Malaya was talking to that same woman that was sitting at her table, that I don't know who she was. I come back out, and when I come back out to the car, Cindy pulled up, and Cindy had someone with her. I don't know who it was. She didn't ring. I didn't recognize her. And I know, I can't remember his name, Cindy's husband. He was there, and they started to walk into the driveway. And then, oh gosh, was that before? No, I'm sorry. I skipped over where the chief come. The chief come before Cindy.
No, I think Lana King said it was a chief from Millbrook, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, that's who I believed it was. Yes, that's who I believe it was. He had introduced himself, and he stated where he was from, and he stated that they're the member of the band of Millbrook. So I wasn't paying attention. I said she lives there. So he thanked me very much, and he went in. So I waited about another 20 minutes, and then I went in again. And he was saying to Malaya that they were going to have a prayer at the table. So I figured I'd give them their privacy for that it was with the other band members, that they were doing a prayer. They were all sitting around the table. So I thought that I didn't have the right to stand around. So I come back out, and there was other people standing in the driveway, but that's when my sister and I decided we'd call it a day. And it was a pretty tiring day. So we left. Once we left, I guess that's when all hell broke loose. Because as we were getting ready to leave, Cindy pulls in. She goes into the driveway with the woman, and then I see her husband go in. And as we're cooling down the air conditioner in the car, then all of a sudden I seen Cindy's husband come out, and he gets into a vehicle. And then that's when I said, we may as well pull out of here. So we did. That took place Saturday. It was around from 10 o'clock, maybe 10 o'clock in the morning. And I think my sister said it was around between 4 and 4:30 when we left. Sunday, I didn't go searching. That my niece and friends of hers, they're hikers, so they stated they would go for me. So they went Sunday. Then Monday, my sister and I decided, we were going to go back. So we had my nephew, and he had a 4-wheel machine because we wanted to take the trails back further towards the pipeline. And like I said, there's trails that go everywhere throughout there. So we started searching right away. And when we were done with that search, I come back out, and they stayed out by the road, and I started to walk in because I wanted to let Malaya know that we were searching to see if she had any more information. And that's when I had met Logan. That when I walked into the driveway and I said hi to them, and Justin was really upset. He was crying. Daniel was out talking to reporters at the end of the driveway. And Justin was really, really upset. So right away I was thinking they must have got some kind of bad news. So when I walked up close, right away Logan said, "Who are you? And what do you want?" And I just told her, I said, "Don't get mothy with me." I said, I'm the grandmother on the biological father's side. And right away she apologized. She apologized profusely. And then she proceeded to tell me that Malaya left on Saturday. It struck me as very, very odd, Because I said to my sister afterwards, I mean, I know they were probably somewhat close with the kids because they were there for 2 years. But I said he seemed really devastated. So it did strike me as just a little off, because he really did look devastated. That was the other thing I wanted to say. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
When Malaya stated about who Jamie was and who Justin was, she said they live in the trailer out back. She used the words they.
And
And my sister and I afterwards thought, wow, that's such a small trailer. But I mean, people live how they live. So that was the end of that thought. And it wasn't until I seen a couple of clips from the news briefing stating that Justin didn't live on the property. And I thought, well, geez, maybe we heard wrong, but I was positive. She said they. She said they. And then when I heard that Justin has a place up the road, but then I heard Logan's interview being broadcasted where she was on TikTok, and somebody had asked about Justin, and she said, well, no, he's got his own problems right now, that he's in the middle of a divorce. And then right away, bells went off in my head, and it's like, well, he's in the middle of a divorce. Well, then maybe Malaya was right. He was staying with Jamie at that particular time. But I still don't know. Everybody is saying that, no, he didn't stay there. But I know she said they. And if he's in the middle of a divorce, my mind states, well, him and his wife probably aren't staying in the same house together. But I know Darren, when he first spoke to you, I know he stated that he didn't even know that Jamie lived there in the trailer. Malaya was totally off. At first, I thought it was shock. But when I come home Saturday night, and I kept thinking about her behavior because it was very odd to me. And then it dawned on me, she couldn't be in shock because this is a crisis that just happened the day before. So this is still a panic mode. I know, because I remember when my daughter went missing once, that a part of me inside, I'm sorry, but a part of me inside died. Now when she left with those babies gone, I don't know how she could do that, to be honest. I love the Malaya that I knew, but I don't know how any mother can leave the place where her babies were. I'm only the grandmother, and I didn't want to leave at all. I wanted to stay there the whole time and sleep in a car. I don't get that at all. I don't get that at all. So I figured if she left, something tells me she had to have had a very, very good reason to leave. Is it because she knows her babies are alive? I really, really hope so. But this other part of me tells me no. No, I can't see kids are missing and calling into 911. I don't believe CPS would have been contacted right away. I only think, to be honest, I think CPS was probably contacted through the RCMP. I think they were the ones who called CPS after the fact. Not just the state. They had the crime unit there. Right after? Was the crime unit there on Friday? Right. So to me, that tells me that while they say they're there for every missing child, something tells me something struck them off, and I do believe that they were the ones that contacted CPS. I do think Malaya called her mom. I think Malaya might have called her mom. If it's true that her mom arrived minutes after the police, she does live in Truro. It is a bit of a distance away. So for her to be there that quick, then Malaya had to have called her mom before she called the police. And I don't question that part because, I mean, hell, I'd probably do the same thing. if I'm to be honest, when I first seen the property, like I said, I had passed it many a time and it always looked like a junkyard. I don't want to be mean. Yes, it kind of looked like a junkyard. I did afterwards, I seen the little fenced in area where the kids could play, which wasn't too bad. But I don't look down on that, to be honest, that part, with people thinking it's dangerous having all the stuff around. Because I remember being a kid myself, and I know when my son was a kid, those were great things to play around because they're not normal toys. And I walked into the trailer. We went in through the front door where it's a little porch there on the front. We went in through that door. And you walk right into the kitchen area. The table's right across from the door. The living room is off to the right. There's a wood stove. It's not quite in the middle of the living room floor, but it juts out in the living room floor a fair bit. Recyclables were everywhere. Piled up bags everywhere. The counters were so full you couldn't pick out any one thing because it was really piled up with a lot of stuff. You feel so helpless that you want to do something. So in the end, the only thing I could do is talk to you guys. I'm an open book, to be honest, and most times I don't understand why nobody else is. I believe everybody should be an open book.
Right?
But I do. It does bother me when I hear Daniel say that, well, he knows certain things, but he can't say certain things. It bothers me when I hear Darren say, well, he knows the names of certain people. He believes he knows who took them. But he doesn't want to jeopardize things. And
yeah.
With me, it's,
I know.
I want my grandkids back.
No.
And I don't care who's got secrets, who tells them not to tell. Everything you know, it might open up a whole new other place to go, to put a closure to this, to give us answers. I can understand some people in the beginning when I first started speaking out.
Yeah.
I had a lot of things come my way because of my son's decisions and choices. And right away, I shut my Facebook off and I made everything private. And it lasted all of maybe a day and a half. And then I thought, well, why do you care what people say? Why do you care what they think?
Right.
You want people to know these kids? You want people to talk about these kids? Well, let them look at your Facebook. Let them say what they want. It doesn't matter. The roads, these are bare roads. The paths that are all up through the woods there, they're fairly bare. There's a couple of areas that were muddy and wet, but most of them are dry roads.